Wait, listen, round number 2. Here we are. You just said Italy. My daughter just left for Italy an hour ago.
Oh, no kidding. Where's she going?
Wild. Yeah, my 16-year-old daughter is going on a trip with 40 kids from her school, and they just left. We just dropped her off like an hour ago. My wife only cried 3 times, I think, and so on. 16 years old. She's going to Italy, Croatia, and Slovenia for 10 days. I'm like, that's not so bad. Right?
Man, yeah, that's going to be a good time.
Joey, welcome to the show, man. You and I feel like this is deja vu almost, which is pretty funny, but we recorded during a thunderstorm, and the thunderstorm knocked out power at my house, and before the power came back on, or the generator can kick back on, bang, we lost the recording. It kicked us out, and it was unusable. So I apologize, man, but this just gives me another hour to hang out with you and to go deeper on what we talked about. So thanks for joining me on the show. Appreciate it.
Thank you, man. Thanks for having me.
Richmond, Virginia. On Instagram, your handle's Ghetto Truck, which just stands out to me. It's a guy that's in love with truck work. Couple things we talked about, and the one thing I want to start this podcast right away. Dirty blue collar training and leadership. What does that mean to you?
Yeah, so I think a lot of people have a bit of a misconception coming into the job. They think it's what they see on TV, and it's nothing but down and dirty, gritty work. I mean, that's what it comes down to, man. This job is especially if you're running just fire, you're not running a whole lot of EMS, or you don't have a box assigned to you that you have to run. Yeah. That's the only side I say. There's, it takes a little bit of finesse and definitely takes some intelligence, but you don't got it's common sense job with a lot of hard work and grit, and that's really all it takes. I mean, it's a blue collar job. That's all it is, man. It's
common sense. That's a fun term. We take, at least I used to take common sense for granted, and then I watch people try to do things that come so naturally for me. I pride myself on, I think, being pretty mechanically inclined, and being mechanically inclined involves a lot of common sense, right? Things have shifted a little bit, right? And so the whole blue collar aspect of the job, we've become less of a blue collar society today, no?
Yeah, I think you see that pretty much everywhere. The priority and the importance has gone to education, and while that definitely is an important part of just in generally speaking in terms of the job, it's still a blue collar job, man. Still has to just busting your ass and working.
I agree with you. I think what we've done, I think education is important for sure, but we do need grunts. We need people with grit and muscle and ability, and that's got to be mixed with education. We put education on a pedestal today, but I think what's happened is, with putting an emphasis on furthering education, we've taken away the emphasis on the mechanical aptitude and hands-on learning and experience. No?
Yeah, I would say that we've definitely, like you said, shifted towards the one side, and I think there's definitely a happy balance. There's got to be a medium in between with regard to hands-on aptitude and actually the educational part about it. But I feel like even when I first came in, you saw kind of like the balance it's definitely shifted, but at the end of the day, it's always going to go back. If you look at history, everything changes back, everything comes around.
So that's interesting, right? Because my thought process goes this way then, right? Is like, okay, we put an emphasis on education, so that means the people that are promoting up are the ones that are doing well on the tests, which is educational focused, and some of the guys that we need to be promoting and putting into spots might be being passed up because their experience and mechanical aptitude don't resonate on a written Scantron or interview test. I don't know.
Yeah, I think a lot of it has to do with across the country, you have so many different variations to testing your knowledge, skills, and abilities of the job, and you could definitely manipulate the list. I'm sure you've seen it with the rule of threes. Sure. Up in Jersey.
Yeah.
You definitely see it down here. If you really, people look at it and they'll be like, hey, you get shitty leaders from civil service tests, you get shitty leaders from a chief's test. And at the end of the day, like, you have a little bit less control when it comes to civil service or outside agency doing a testing with no type of interference from your upper echelon or leadership. But at the end of the day, like, you have to choose one or the other. What's the best for your agency? Do you run the risk of that person that doesn't have a high job IQ, doesn't have the critical thinking skills, but can test well on paper and can memorize something? Same thing like National Registry, going through EMT. If you can memorize that list, that checkoff sheet, that's all you need. It's nothing but checking the boxes. Whereas I think, there's other ways around it, and you can possibly pick and choose people to promote different ways. I don't have the answer to it.
No, I don't think there is I don't think there's a right answer to it. I think what we have to do, though, is recognize that it's much more than just education. And I don't mean, education I'm talking about education on the fire, like all of it, right? We need to have well-rounded people that can bring the skills and leadership and management through education, but we also need to back up that book smart education with street smart education and practicality and experience. And I think that is where we get in trouble sometimes, is where we don't value the real world experience. We value the study and how much tutoring you had to get yourself in a good spot on the list. And I think that's something we have to look at. And you can break that down to the volunteer ranks too, right? It's not just career, but volunteer fire service as well. We're not valuing, or we don't have the ability to put people with street experience into those leadership positions as much as we once did.
Yeah, I've seen both sides of that, especially in the volunteer service, because in New Jersey I volunteered for years before even coming or even thinking about seriously going to career side.
Right.
But you have some volunteer or on-call, whatever you want to call them, agencies that really do an incredible job at maintaining the standard and educating and putting their members in a position to do best. I've seen both sides of that. I've seen one side where you literally could be a 20-year guy with firefighter 1, maybe firefighter 2. Now, we don't have firefighter 3. Apparently they have that now up in Jersey too, but we don't have that. But they have those qualifications and nothing else, and they're a chief officer. That's negligence, in my opinion. I don't care how many years you have. Like, there's certain things. If you're potentially gonna be the first person on scene calling the shots, whether it's for 1 minute or 1 hour, career or volunteer, there needs to be a certain level of accountability from the agency's aspect, and you need to put your people in place in the best position possible to make the best decisions. And if you got a guy that has got 20 years in, 10 years in, whatever the case is, a chief officer or even a frontline officer on suppression without any other education or training, unless you're a volunteer agency that's working fires on a daily basis, you need that education, because you're not going to get it on the fire ground from repetition.
Yeah, I agree with so many things there. Longevity doesn't just come in years; it comes to the actual experience. How many times you're turning the wheel and getting to practice your craft, right? And I agree with you too. Like, it has to be coupled. Time and experience needs to be coupled with education. I know New Jersey's done a pretty good job in putting forth a mandate about the required training levels now for chief officers, company officers, and so on. And it involves a lot of different, National Incident Manager, NIMS, different levels of NIMS training, hazmat incident commander, all these different things on top of fire officer series and things like that you have to now have. So New Jersey, I think, is pretty dialed in. It's a POSHA state as well. So you have obligations there too that you have to fulfill, and so on. But I would agree with you. It's finding that fine balance of education and experience is really what can get us to the next step. You bring up the fact, New Jersey, man, what got you down to the Virginia area? I mean, now you're Richmond for 6 years now, I think you said?
Yeah, I've been working for the city for 6 years, about 6 years, maybe a little over right now. And I've been in Virginia for a total of over 8 years now. Started off in a small city that was burning pretty pretty frequently with the intentions of finally coming, here. I moved down to the city. I lived in the city the whole time, so I wanted to work here. I feel comfortable here. It's a little bit it's got all the elements that I wanted to be involved in. So that's how I wound up here in terms of the job. With regard to how I actually got here, it's dating a girl that's from here originally.
So,
her parents,
yeah,
dude, they always get
that's
there, right?
it.
I was gonna I was in law enforcement in Jersey. I was looking at possibly even going. I was on a list for NYPD. I was a little bit too old to take the test for FDNY. And obviously, I had an opportunity to go to a civil service agency in Jersey with fire, but it wouldn't have made a lot of sense. She runs her family business down here, so it wouldn't have made any sense for her to go up north. I was like, hey, I'll give it a shot. If I can get hired down there relatively quickly, then I'll come down. And to my surprise, I actually got picked up relatively soon.
From the people that I've met and understanding the city of Richmond, I do know it's a good place to be a fireman.
Yeah, man, it's a lot of people come here. A lot of people stay. You get some people that leave. I think our attrition rate's pretty decent given given everything around us. I don't care what anybody says around here. I mean, you can't dispute the facts. Like, we run the most fire in this area. Nobody can touch us, and we don't run any we don't have a bus that we have to hop on. We just run first response. We have a quasi governmental organization that runs EMS for us. They're not in a firehouse. They're staged throughout the city, and it sometimes as long as you got staffing, it seems to work. Staffing's always that issue, right?
All the time, right? I think the other thing, though, too, which is pretty cool, though, is it's a city that focuses on the services, and that you guys don't do any transport. You do first responder, though, right? Life hazard first responder.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. But other than that, I mean, you're a truck fireman. I mean, you are a truck fireman, and you get to practice your craft. And I think that matters. I know so many guys in different jobs all over the country that one shift they're on the engine, the next shift they're on an ambulance, or they're on the rescue, and then they go to the ambulance. And it's part of their responsibilities to fill, a half of their 24 on a bus, or a full 24 on a bus. And when you're alternating back and forth, it's hard to find your rhythm and groove, I would believe. I never ran EMS. I never wanted to run EMS. I've never had my EMT. Like, it just doesn't do anything for me. But it's nice to be able, I have to think, though, in Richmond, it's nice to be able to be assigned to a truck and you're doing truck work, and you don't have to cross the floor for other duties, if you will. Yeah,
the only time, we don't really cross the floor at all. If we're heavy or something like that, we might cross the floor if the engine or rescue's out. If their manpower's low, or
right.
We might go somewhere in the battalion if we're needed. But the fact that I'm on a specialty piece, it's a tiller, so not everybody's qualified to be on it to drive it. So that keeps us pretty whole for the most part. I mean, granted, the past couple shifts I got transferred over to the other side of the floor to act for a while, but that's pretty much the only time you see somebody getting moved out or anything like that is if there's a need or necessity somewhere else, and everything else can be filled on the truck. Because we have a secondary responsibility of technical rescue and stuff, so it's a little bit different of a house than other places. But to speak on what you were just saying with regard to EMS, I used to ride 911 for a combination agency. I was paid as a firefighter / paramedic, but
right.
The majority of my time was spent on the bus, and I'm like, that's where I was there for that specific purpose. I wanted to be there because, practice my skills. I was teaching a lot at the time at the medical college. So, I mean, I can't sit there and in good faith, good conscience, teach something and not have a good deal of experience in terms of trauma and critical care or high priority medical and stuff like that.
Sure.
So I went down. I was doing that for a while, and I told him flat out, I was like, dude, I know you're gonna think I'm crazy. I was like, but if there's a fire comes in, I have no issue throwing on the gear, helping you guys out, going whatever it takes, I'll do it. But I didn't come here to sit here to train in 100-degree heat, get myself all sweaty and disgusting, and then go run COPD call where I have to start, I'm dripping all over the patient, being,
Right.
disgusting. I'm trying to, start a line, get meds going, all this other nonsense. I was like, dude, I'll do it. I'm not opposed to training and stuff like that. I get plenty of work where I'm at right now. I'm not here for the extra fire or for the extra training by any means. I'm here for a specific job function, and that's it.
Yeah, well, I think that is where, when you can narrow in on what your duties are for that tour or that shift or your job focus, it just makes it easier for you. You're dialed into it. You know the expectations. You know what needs to be done, and you're not bouncing back and forth trying to figure it out on the fly.
Yeah, I mean, at the EMT level and first response, your involvement with that patient is so minimal usually,
Right.
and it's not in depth. There's nothing like crazy involved with it. It's all basic stuff. Obviously, that's why they call it big. But when I feel that you have certain agencies that are so EMS heavy, right now there's that big thing going on with like Fort Worth and their chiefs apparently like a
Safety
EMS
culture.
Yeah, like whatever. Dude's a loser, man.
Yep.
Like it's
right.
that stuff's got to go by the wayside. You got to be. There's a fine line between safe and putting yourself out there, and that risk reward balance is something that you always got to juggle. But you always hear people say, "We're hiring either great firemen or great paramedics," and very seldomly and in between do you find somebody that's great at both.
Right.
And they're out there. I've seen them. We have them that are just incredible, both. But I'm telling you, me personally, I'm a type of guy that it's like, if I'm doing fire stuff, just let me concentrate on the fire stuff. It's so hard for me.
Yeah, let me go all in.
Yeah, dude, it's like your head's going both ways, and it's you don't know where to focus. And one of them, like I said, is straight up blue collar, and the other one's a white collar. That's a white collar job, man. You're using brains in that.
Yeah. Yeah. I love what you said before, though, when you were focusing on the paramedic aspect. It was important for you that if you were going to teach it at the college, that you had practical experience in miles on the road of doing that job so you can teach it. I think that is so valuable. Yeah,
I came in, I got a very fortunate opportunity to get to the truck when I did, with an incredible crew at the time. Everybody was knowledgeable. Everybody was seasoned. I was taking the spot of a guy that was very was put on. He was a great fireman. So I wound up taking his spot about a year later. So it was big shoes to fill, and it was a big learning curve for me because in Jersey I never really spent any time on a truck. I did a tiny bit of truck work, but it was only because I happened to have to be assigned to that on scene. I had minimal experience down here. I was assigned to a tower for a little bit, but we didn't see a whole lot of fire, and we were a technical rescue team, so we were heavy on that versus like truck stuff. So these guys had a pretty difficult task bringing me up to speed when I came over to the truck and teaching me. They did an incredible job. I still use a lot of the tactics, and I try to give credit to the individuals that I learned from when I was coming up, and still learning. There's still stuff that when I see certain people on the scene that I'm like, hey, dude, I'm gonna give you a call. I want to run something by you, or hey, can we go over something that we you taught me a couple years ago, or the biggest thing is the way you retain all that information, the way you get better is to have an open mind when it comes to education with regard to learning the job, and also to test each other and to teach. If you're teaching and you're on a call and you're like, hey, what kind of lock is that? Or what kind of building construction are we looking at? Do you think that's a type 1? Why do you say it's a type 1? I think it's a type 2. Little things like that. And
I love it.
Some people don't like it. I found that certain personalities take it the wrong way. I'm not one of those people. I feel like, I have something to learn from even the most junior person. Like you said, the people that are coming over that the shift where they're heavy on certain skills that I do not have. I may be teaching them something with regard to firefighting, but they're going to teach me something with regard to what they've learned through life, especially now with the big thing with the kick with laterals and hiring experience. And that's a whole nother ball of wax right there that probably have to do a
Sure
part 2
is.
for.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I mean that's become a hot topic, and we hit on it a little bit. I've done it now on a couple different episodes, just talking with people that were exposed to it. I think it's a really interesting dynamic that's in the fire service today that needs to be explored further to understand the pros and cons of it, and how to really navigate that space. And departments have to understand what they're looking for and what they're going to get when they put together something like that, where they're starting to look at laterals. And it's not overly popular in the Northeast, but it's starting to become a topic of conversation here. And you're going to start seeing departments are going to jump on that bandwagon of bringing in lateral transfers, which is going to pit departments against departments. And it's going to become a much more competitive landscape. But the benefit is it benefits our individual people, if it can offer, more and exciting things. So it's an interesting landscape, but I agree with you, man. Everybody's got something to teach. Everybody's got something to learn. And I also agree with you, man. There's certain personalities that just, they're good with it, and others not so good.
Yeah. And, so I think it's a fine line.
Yeah.
I'm not, you get some people that come in lateral wise and they got a whole wealth of experience and knowledge, and you want them to be engaged. You want to take some information from them. They always have something to give. But then there's some that you hire as a lateral, and you kind of sit there and think like, man, I understand why some people are upset. They want to come in as a lateral and get paid for their experience, but it's hard to do that because I think that's one of the biggest things I heard. And with collective bargaining, we had our first contract ever. We've been a right to work without a contract, or collective bargaining that got passed last year, and we have a contract for the first time ever, which is definitely a positive thing. I think the craziest thing in the world was you had a lot of guys, man, more than half the people that were like unsure of whether or not to go to a contract. But in the contract, I think some people tried to get in that competitive pay where you could lateral in at a certain step. But how do you get somebody? Let's take for example, we'll say like what's a county that's very slow up by you, or a city?
It's all over the place.
I mean,
I don't know.
You pick like one of.
Yeah, so up by us, busy would be, say, like Hackensack. Slow would be like, I don't know.
Whatever the city is.
Whatever
like
town,
a,
right.
A smaller city
right.
that doesn't run a whole lot versus somebody like, you get 10 years, somebody that doesn't run at a busy place versus somebody that's on a busy company in Jersey City or like Newark or Elizabeth or something like that.
Right.
And how can you compare those 10-year guys? They're not comparable. I don't care what anybody says. Like you got, this guy may have a million different certifications, trained out the ass, can do everything. He looks great on paper. This person maybe doesn't have all those certifications, but if you look at his resume when it comes to fire details and jobs and other and just off the wall stuff, you can't compare them. So you can't compensate that person properly. So it's like, you pull one of those things, in my opinion, in Jersey. Hey, I don't care if you want to come here from Elizabeth to Jersey City, you're still going back to the academy and you're still going to learn, how we do things, how we operate. Because fire department's like one of those things where it's not like law enforcement where the law's the law and there's updates and there's things you got to learn, but everything is procedural over here. Fire department's not like that, man. You can go next door to the next agency and stuff runs completely different, whether it's operating procedures or whether it's just a culture. It's the craziest thing. You go to one place and they're about to hang you on the cross because you're not. You spend the 30 extra minutes in your PT gear, and then you go to some places and they're in shorts all day. Nobody bats an eye, and it's like, what the fuck is going on here, man? Like
it is. It's certainly interesting. It's like going to different country, different language, all of it, right? Every fire department has a different language. They have a different way. They have a different culture, dialect, language, operational abilities, tactics, strategies, administration. There's nothing standard for the most part when it comes to the American Fire Service.
No, and I mean, they're just like anything else. There's got to be everything's got to be tailored a little bit to your agency. But
Yeah.
I think the best thing for us is not NFPA, but a different type of regulatory agency for the whole, for the masses with regard to training. And I'm not saying, I hate to like revert back to EMS because that's not what this podcast is about, but they've done an okay job. They still have a lot of room to grow, but in terms of setting a national standard and a regulatory agency that certifies everybody, that'd be great. But everything's different, man. You go to like what's pro boarded in Jersey may not be pro boarded in Virginia. What's pro boarded here may not be pro boarded somewhere else. It's like, so they're useless. All that time that you've spent taking those classes, you have to retake them. I took Fire 1 in Jersey. I talked to Fire, Division of Fire up there, and literally like a couple months after I took that Fire Officer 1 course, they went and pro boarded it. So I wasn't eligible. I had to retake Fire 1 or Officer 1 rather down here. It's just it's a mess.
Yeah, we could be doing a lot more to better the job in that regard when it comes to standardization, especially across training and all of that. I mean, I agree with you 100%. I want to ask you your early days. I just want to kind of get back to you just a little bit, but your early days when you got down to when you got into Richmond there, the culture, the truck culture. I mean, your Instagram handle is Ghetto Truck. So the truck culture there, no water, no hose, correct?
Yeah. So interestingly enough, I'm kind of glad you asked that because I think we're like the 4th oldest department in the country.
Is that right? I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah. We 1858 or 56, I believe, was the first time we went paid. But
wow,
we had fire companies way before that, and stuff. Just because of it's the capital of the Confederacy, state capital now. But yeah, we started off back in probably the 80s and 90s with 9 truck companies, 7 tillers, 2 straight sticks. And then this guy, his name was McElfish or something, whatever. I forget. I want to forget his. I wasn't here for that time, but and I'm happy it wasn't. Through attrition. When he came here, he brought the Quint concept with this. That is, bro. I don't even want to get into that. That's trash.
That was early '90s when the Quint concept was really starting to take hold in some cities.
Yeah, and so I'm like that's whoever started that pulled the wool over some county or city manager's eyes, because the only thing you did was like set everything back 2-3 decades. We're still facing the consequences of that action, and I'm going to tell you, just like everything else, there's that may work in certain places, and it does work in certain places. The places for that to work are not in a big city that runs. Right. You can't do that to people, man. Like we're good, but we're not that good where we can show up and arbitrarily make a decision on, because nobody wants. There's a lot of people don't want to do truck work. So how they did it and how it was laid out, I think the first truck that got on scene, or the first Quint that got on scene, was Fire Attack. Right. I don't know if the next one was a truck company. I mean, whatever it is, it's like I don't want to have anything to do with it. So when that happened, they quickly saw they wound up buying Quints, and they bought what's called the FRVs. So the idea behind it was you respond with the Quints to fire calls. If there's an EMS call or anything like that, you take the Quint. So the Quint's like, dude, this thing is like worse than a cat. 9 lives is not even, doesn't even,
I believe it,
dude. Yeah, I swear to God, these things are still kicking, still going. They're like international bodies or something like that.
You still have them on the line though,
bro? There's a couple of them like on the line still. There was, when I say,
do they still operate as a Quint?
No, so now all the like we only have a couple Quints still. Like
got it,
and they're. I want to say
confused.
None of them have water on them.
Right, I get it.
Yeah, they all. So that was a big transition from us, because you had people that were on these truck companies that really didn't have a lot of experience operating as a truck company, or they were one of the slower ones when everything transitioned over and they became a truck company. So now we're at a point where we're engine and truck. That's it. Used to be Quint, FRV, and rescue companies, and that was it. But now everything's gone back to pretty much normal. The past, I would say, like 8 years has been.
The whole Quint concept, right? Like when you think about a city, I mean, what do you get on a reported structural fire in the city of Richmond? How many companies?
So we get five engine companies, 2 trucks, 2 battalion chiefs, a safety officer, and a medic unit.
I mean, that thing is stacked up, and staffing of 4 on each piece?
Yeah, we got staffing on 4 of each piece every single day.
So you're getting 5 and 2 plus all the extras, right? And when you think about it, like the discipline of being able to dial in and do your job, you introduce a Quint to that. Quints are designed for areas of, lack of response in numbers, right? So you're not getting multiple companies at the get. You're not getting adequate staffing. And if the ladder arrives first and the next engine is 5 minutes out, they can stretch a line and at least get water on that fire. Like, that's what a Quint's designed for. Cities that operate Quints, and listen, I'm not one that can sit here and talk firsthand. I don't operate, I didn't work in an inner city with a Quint, so I can't really, I can just talk about it in common sense language. But if you're getting 5 and 2 at the get for reported structural fire, your companies are dialed in. They know their jobs, and you're getting water, and you're getting guys to go to work to the floor above and on the roof, and so on. So, like, what do you need a Quint for in that equation?
You don't. You just complicate things at that point.
Yeah, you do. You're right.
I think what happened was we had a operations chief who left and went to Department of Fire Programs, wound up coming back as the number one in charge, and he's the one that really pushed to bring back the tillers, bring back the engine companies, and we just, for the first time the other day, I just happened to see one of the 3 new engines that we just ordered from a company I've never heard of before in my life. But I mean, they looked okay. I don't know, like, I think they sent them back for something. There's an issue with the bumpers, back step coming off the back. We have a committee that designs. That's recently.
Well, you guys just got an aerial scope not too long ago, correct?
Yeah, Truck 5 got a tower. It's a beautiful piece. I mean, the setup on it's incredible. I think they did a good job speccing it. One of the dudes that rides an aerial scope in his volunteer agency, and he's a truck guy. Yeah, he's solid.
Yep. Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely. I think what's really cool, I mean, I love the fact that you could dial in and do your job. So then I want to bring it down even further for you in the truck. Then you have inside-outside teams. Does it matter on positioning? Like, what does that all look like for you guys on arrival?
Yeah, so on arrival, everybody's got a position now. Our piece is a little bit different than the rest of the companies, rest of the truck companies out there. So we show up on a job, and you got C-side involvement, then the truck will try to take the involved side. If they cannot take the involved side, then the first 2 truck will take the alpha side.
Okay.
And depending on if it's a high-rise assignment, and the aerial's not going to be in play, then the whole crew will go in at once. If it's something where you're going to split your crew, then you have your officer and your inside truck that goes in. Your hook and can guy with your officer, and then you have the outside team, which is going to be your tillerman and your chauffeur that handle those responsibilities. But if it's unknown what's going on, and this is where it varies, a lot of people don't understand it. I think they think we're like being lazy or something like that. But the chauffeur and the tillerman will stay inside the piece while the officer and the inside truck guy goes in to investigate or to help out the crew, because if you got to move that truck, you can't do it by yourself. So
right, makes sense.
And a lot of times stuff's not evident on arrival on where you're going to need to be placed. If it's blowing out the windows, then usually things are a little bit more obvious at that point. And once you place the area, you place it. And if there's anything else that needs to get hit, hopefully you can get it with a ground ladder. And we got plenty of that, man. We got close to 400 feet of ground ladders on that piece. So
TD up. Well, TDAs certainly have the real estate for it, so I love that. What's the attraction to the truck for you? I mean, why the truck? I mean, I know you just enjoy it. So what is it about that position?
So at first, something about me, I think I don't want to say I like the beating, but anytime I feel like I have something that is not threatening to me, but maybe scares me a little bit, or there's an unknown, or I'm not that good at it, I always try to get involved. Like scuba diving,
Right.
You know, I didn't do well at that. I made sure to I probably should just quit, but no, I punched through, went through, training for it, and started to do it, and started to love it. And I took the same outlook on truck stuff. I was like, I think I might like the work, but I don't know. I'm not really sure. Everybody thinks I'd be good at it. Besides the height, I'm not a tall guy, but I'm a pretty strong individual and
stocky guy. Yeah, no doubt.
Your
no doubt.
Stuff. So I gave it a shot, man. I'll tell you, the first couple months, I hated it.
Really?
Hated it. I was like, it's cool. It's different, but I'm not sure how much I like it. And that was basically, I come to find out that it was just because I wasn't well-rounded in it. I needed so much help. There was so much to learn that was different than engine operations. And I think a lot of people don't realize that, and a lot of people here didn't realize that, because with that Quint concept, it really jaded people and made people think that I gave it, maybe even a false sense of security or knowledge of the job. I wasn't that person. I knew I didn't know shit. And granted, like, my personality maybe masked that a little bit, because I'm a little bit more, I can be outgoing. I'm usually more aggressive. My personality is abrasive. I don't lie to people. I don't bullshit people to like make them feel good. So I think that was one of the things that attracted me to it, is just because I didn't know anything. I had so much to learn, and I still have, dude. I'm like literally still have a lot to learn.
No, I get it. I mean, each position within that company carries a tremendous amount of discipline and learning. Whether it's your entry fireman, your search fireman, your roof, your entry, all of it, right? The OV. There's so many different tasks that go to it. You know what I love about it is the independence of it and the free thinking that goes into it, right? Like a lot of times on a line, when you're pushing when you're stretching a line, you're tied to your line, and your line needs to get to the seat of the fire or to the floor above, right? Whatever your duties are. So you're tasked automatically with finding your way connected to this line. And, it takes a lot of the free-spirited thinking out of it. Whereas in the truck spot, whether you're the either outside or inside team, there's a whole slew of variables that you have to process pretty quickly to figure out where you need to be, when you need to be, how to get there, what the job is, how to perform it. There's just a lot there, and that's what I like about the challenge of that kind of work.
Yeah, we have some companies in the city that when you get a fill-in, they'll put them on an outside truck.
Right.
And you got some
makes sense.
Well, to some people it does, and to some degree it does make sense. But like, me and another one of my buddies, we've talked about it, because we don't have a choice on my company. They have to go inside. Because we're not going to just be like, hey, bro, you want to till for the day? Like, yeah, have at it. That's not going to happen. Right. So they have no choice. They have to go inside. But another one of the companies that's a straight stick, me and one of the dudes from there that teach a lot, we've had discussions, and he's the first company that I saw be proactive and say, something, when we get a fill-in, even if it's somebody that's across the floor that doesn't have a whole lot of experience working with us, they're going to be going inside with the officer for two reasons. It kind of handicaps the officer a little bit, because if you have to split when you're inside, it's going to be the officer has to make that decision on whether or not he wants to split his crew, knowing that he's got somebody that doesn't have experience on the truck. And if you've been pulling lines and you have the protection of a line and the safety of a line, and that's all the first time you're in a fire with that one, you're gonna be shit scared because you don't have that comfort, that security. So
Yeah.
that company was like, hey, we're gonna put that firefighter is gonna go and run inside because outside you're split unless you're going to the roof, and even sometimes you're going to the roof, you have to keep somebody on a pedestal or the turntable to operate it. So that outside person needs to have that already functional critical thinking part of their firefighting brain in step with everything and the tempo. So you go to the Charlie side with a ladder and hopefully you have a tool with the intentions of either setting the ladder and making seaside entry or at least softening up a little bit. And you get to the back and this shit's happened before, like in a recent time here, and there's people hanging out of windows. Then if you got somebody that's inexperienced or is not used to being on the outside truck or isn't proficient at forcing doors or setting a 28-foot ladder up or 35 by themselves, whatever the case may be, then you're setting yourself up for failure as a company.
Yeah. No, I get that. I get that very much. And how big of a job is Richmond?
In terms of
personnel
on suppression, our minimum, I think if we're fully staffed, we're at like low 140s, and if we're minimum, I think it's like 119, 121 or something like that. I can't remember exactly what it was. It's changed recently.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean, the nice thing with that is I think the job is small enough to know most guys, at least reputations and names, right? So like, we're going to get him. He's coming into the company today. We know who he is.
Yeah. Not so much recently because of the influx of new people and the large class that we put through that's still on probation, it's still rookies. But generally speaking, if you come in and even if you don't have a fill-in coming in, but you're looking at the battalion and you're checking out staffing for the battalion, if you got engine 5's got 2 people, 3 people off, whatever the case is, right. And everybody's coming in as a fill-in from retirement home or something like that. And that's the good thing about us, bro. Even the retirement homes, like you're not going there just to retire because I hate to
They're
tell
moving.
You, yeah, dude. I've worked some overtime or run into that area. Like they're coming down the street now for some. I don't even know what they're going on. But,
coming for you.
Those are some of the best rocking jobs, bro. In those first dues, guys that have those retirement homes are usually when you catch a job there, that shit's legit, man. You're working your ass off until the second and third company's coming. You're stretching. You're by yourself for quite some time. Sometimes it takes 5 minutes just to get to the damn house from the street.
Yeah. I get it. I want to ask you this too. Training. We talked about the truck and the position and all those things that you enjoy about it, and you've fallen for it, right?
Yeah.
Training for you though is super important as well. You and I, our first go around, we talked a lot about training. And how important that is and what that looks like for you and how, and the integrity of putting together, accurate training programs that represent the job, and so on. Talk to me a little bit about the foundation of training, why that's so important to you.
Man, that's I should probably start jotting stuff down just so I keep my thoughts in order with this because there's just so much, I'm literally
just take it one at a time, man. No worries.
Yeah, I think I'm
not going anywhere.
Right. I think first and foremost, with regard to training, once you've determined that you're going to perform or put on some type of training, or you're going to go ahead with any training whatsoever, you need to look at the big picture of things. And is this something that's going to be short-lived? Is this something that can be taught in an 8-hour block, a 4-hour block, and can be reinforced back at the house? Or is this something that needs to have follow-up training? Is this something that we're going to do in series and steps? Like currently right now we're doing, we just finished up the entire city on basic truck ops. But the issue that you have with that is like you have your training, your cadre, which was, I don't know, maybe like 12 of us or maybe less. It was in between like 8 to 12. You got a couple people that never show up, a couple people that show up on duty, and then you have such a variation of teaching methods. So even, and I'm not saying this is not a mock on us or anything like that, because even at the state level, like when you go to teach one of the state adjuncts, so it's like you go, even when you're teaching from the curriculum and from the bullet points, there's such a variation on how you can teach that one bullet point and what you're going to say to it. So you may get somebody that reads off the PowerPoint and just gives you that information, and then you may get somebody that doesn't even read the PowerPoint. It's like, just pay attention to what I'm telling you. This is what you need to know, and this is what you need to do.
This is how we actually do it. Right.
Yeah. So, and that's one of the things, like at the academy, it's like, all right, every ladder is going to be moved with 2 people, because when it comes to state testing, you're going to be moving with 2 people. Well, guess what, bro? That doesn't matter. On a fire ground, you're grabbing 2 ladders sometimes.
That's right. And you're dragging them.
And you're you're moving. I got, I can't tell you how many times I remember like dragging I had I think she was a captain at the time. We had a fire, and I was dragging 2 ladders to the affected side of the building. She looks at me, she's like, hey, Petruccelli, you need a hand? And I was like, no, I'm good, Cap. Thanks. I'm straight.
I'm good.
And
you go do your job.
Yeah, just keeps,
I got this.
Staring at me like, you motherfucker, you need a hand.
Listen, those feet are meant to be worn. We can always replace the feet on ladders. So, drag them wherever you got to put them, man. If you need a 14 roof and a 28 extension, and you can take them both at one time,
have at it.
Take them. Drag them. Go.
Yeah, and I sometimes, I tell people, like, hey, you're moving this ladder. When you get it to where you need to get it, what if you need to do something? So, like, you need to start making considerations. Do you make sure you're packed up and ready to go with everything when you take that ladder, or are you doing that with just your turnout gear on and no pack, no tool? And I don't have the answer for everything. A lot of it's situation dependent, but so these are all things that you can't really dive into at the academy teaching a basic recruit school. These are things that happen after the fact. First and foremost, when you get to your company, and then reinforced, hopefully, if we have some type of extra training, like a truck school or anything like that. So I wasn't involved in the infancy of the truck cadre and the truck school going on. I came in a tiny bit later to it, when I didn't get a chance to see what the big picture was or the big plan. So I do know that there's a part 2 to it, which is a more advanced truck training. But the basic truck training was just, it was basic stuff that you have people that never experienced firefighters. And I'm talking about like shit hot firefighters that we have that have never been on a roof, never cut a roof. And I have to commend them, because, they flat out, they're like, hey, this isn't my thing. This isn't my forte. I've never cut a roof before. So, just tell me, and you're not going to, you cut one roof and you're not good to go after that. Like, you're not just, you're not blessed and you're like, yeah, bro, you're good. You can do whatever you want now. It's different. And we do things a lot differently than other places. You talk to guys, and like talk to Mickey Farrell in like New York, and they don't go, they're not taking pitched roofs by themselves. They're going to work off a bucket maybe, but like, we don't put our aerials through windows. You know what I mean? Like, and they don't cut Q decking on a commercial roofs. Once they find out that it's, they come off the roof. Us, it's not like that. It's all situation dependent. So these are all little things that I think get taught at the extra classes and extra training programs that you put. But to get back on topic with regard to training, I think that's one of the things, like, you need to, if you have somebody that's in charge of overseeing, we'll say like truck school, for instance, and it's going to be at least a year or longer process for training, and there's some kind of either the person that's running it gets promoted or gets assigned somewhere else, or gets other duties. Like, you need to make sure that transition is seamless to whoever's coming in, and that
consistency, right?
And even if you have like some kind of issue with the training, that's where you run into a lot of issues, because stuff takes so long to complete. Then you have somebody else that comes in, especially when there's movement inside the department, and they try to put their switch on things, and it completely throws off the fluid movement of the training. Like, if you come in and change one aspect of it, you completely undermine. You're undermining the cadre. You're undermining the person that
happens all the time.
Yeah, and that's. I'm not saying that we have that case, but I have seen it where. Now we're getting back into doing, especially because of collective bargaining. There's stuff in the collective bargaining contract that with regard to like operations. Mayday and RIT are one of those things. So we have a pretty solid district chief. She's in an acting position right now, but she put on training for the entire city on the Bravo platoon. The other ones didn't get it, but it was an anticipation for what's to come. Now, we did a full department training about like 6 years ago when I first came in, and that was probably the first time I ever taught anything coming in down at the academy was Mayday training. But that should have been expanded on, and that was with a whole new policy and a whole new, like, everything. It was completely revamped. That's one of the things that we're going through right now and developing and trying to see where we're going to go with that. I'm not too involved with that training, but I'm sure I'll have some kind of hand in it at some point.
Yeah, I love the consistency aspect of it, and you're 100% right. You know, in a large job where you're rolling out when you're rolling out training on a large level, you got 4 platoons, you got hundreds of firefighters that have to be taught and trained, and then and so on. The consistency of the message has to be in tune with what you're looking to get with the desired delivery, right? And I find that, like, a lot of times depending on the individuals, how the message is put out there and taught, and then how it's received. And that can be so influenced just by the individual instructor. You and I met for the first time. We had spoken a few times through DMs and texts and so on, but you and I met at FDIC this year in Steve Crothers' leadership class that he put on. And I sat in because Steve's a friend. I wanted to see his program, which I was really impressed with, really squared away. And you were sitting right down the row from me, I think one row in front of me. And we had met during the intermission or before it started, whatever it was. But we were talking. But the one thing that stood out to me was where he was talking about teaching and training, that they would have an instructor's training before they do the individual student training or firefighter training, so that all the instructors were on the same page and understanding the context of it, the training aspect of it, and the delivery of it. So there was consistency across all levels, right?
Yeah. That, man.
Huge.
I don't even know what to, like, I don't have a large enough vocabulary to tell you.
I don't either.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't either. Yeah.
That dude is a
he's impressive. He's impressive.
He's a TDA god.
Yeah.
The amount, I don't like Seattle. I think that place is whack. But I'd go to work in that department. Just
the city itself.
To be with him, dude. Yeah. Just to learn and learn, pick his brain. He is. I can never, I would never say that, like, anybody should just strive to be like anybody else. You should always be your own person. But if I could take just like 10% of what that guy's got in terms of, like, just skills, not even skills, but his presentation, and how he comes across, and how he fine tunes things, and his ability to just read people and to instruct and to mentor is just on a whole nother level. He's got a gift for it for sure, and he works hard at it too. Oh yeah, he's and all his guys. I mean, it's not just him; it's every single his whole cadre, his whole staff is just beyond words for me. When he first came down during COVID, it was, and we were doing the initial training for the tiller, and I was in on the initial training for him. It was, I mean, I knew right then and there, like, this dude's special. And then when I love that. As soon as I saw him, like, so I went out to FDIC to work. I wasn't there to take classes, but my goal was to take one class a day. So as soon as I saw him, I was like, I don't give a shit what I have to do if I got to, like, hide in a drop ceiling the night before to get in this class.
I love it.
I'm going to it. Like, and you saw that from just that 2 hours class, I gained so much from it, and more of it's like, and I knew this, but about myself, but he just, like, he more or less reminds me when I hear him talk and when I see him, is that, like, I had such a different way of leadership and instruction early on in my career, because
Yes.
came from a different school of thought. Like when you go to Marine Corps when you're 17 years old and you come out, like number one, there's nothing that you think could kill you. There's nothing that you think you can't do. And it's almost like you get, like they make you drink like Superman elixir there. Like you're, and that would explain why Marines are always fighting and shit. Cause they think they can do whatever they want. So when you come out, like you don't have I hate to say it, but like me personally, my instruction skills, my leadership skills were not fine tuned and they were not great at all, because it was one of those things where like I learned from the Marines. I grew up in a different, a little bit of a different time than certain people are grown up in. So I learned some negative behaviors, and he always like just doesn't remind me personally, but when he talks, I'm constantly reminded of the negative things that I need to put away in the closet and never do, and be a better person.
I agree with you, and I'll take it even one step further. The way he delivers information, you're learning through every conversation I have with him, whether we're talking on the phone or I sit in his class. You're taking it in, and it's taught and presented in a way that you don't even understand you're learning, because the delivery is so good that it's you sit there and like at the end of his class, and believe it or not, you said 1 or 2 hours. I think that was a 3-hour workshop.
Oh, I think it was. Didn't feel like it to me.
I know.
Yeah.
I know. And that is very much my point. And you could take that same information and have somebody else teach it, and it would be a completely different class.
Oh.
And that is the importance, and that's what I wanted to get at, is the consistency in delivery. If he wanted other people to deliver that class, he would have a class with those people to teach and educate them how to package up this information, what the mindset is, and then how to deliver it. And that's what we need to be doing in our fire academies. We can't be disjointed in the delivery, because the message will get lost. We need to have a cohesive and consistent way in delivering the training, so that when it gets applied, when the application gets applied on the street, it's consistent to what the message was in the academy, and there's no variation. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Man, I think there's only you have a certain amount of time, right? And you have things that you need to do inside that school, that period that you're instructing people. So I don't have the answer for it. I have ideas, but I don't have any type of answer for it. But there's so many things that you have the stuff that's necessary to teach in order to get the certifications to push the people out to the field. And then there's stuff that is not in the books that you can either learn the hard way, or you can maybe start getting that into the mindset of the people in the academy, the recruits that come out. And that's more or less what is expected of you, what the days are going to be like. And you can't teach that. I mean, some people come out and like, I've even heard of individuals coming out and before my time that didn't realize that it was a 24-hour work schedule. They get there and think that they're leaving in 8 hours or something like that. And it's like, dude, nah, bro, that's not the way it works. Like, the general public, I would say a lot of the general public doesn't know. And even,
for sure.
Yeah, the city, like you got city employees in various departments, HR and everything else, that are oblivious. They're like, I'm sorry, you're there for 24 hours. You shower there, you cook your meals there, you eat there. Everything's done there. Yeah, dude, we're not like, you can't put the same restrictions on us as somebody that has a 9 to 5 that sits up in the ivory tower downtown, counting beans all day long than you do us. Like, it's a different, you can't apply the same, not policies necessarily, but the same rules or same expectations on us. I remember like for a while, somebody was talking about doing 2 trainings a day for suppression. And it's like, bro, before these new trucks came into play, we're averaging 18, 19 calls a day. That's an average. That's not on a high end. Like, where the hell I don't have time to take a bathroom break, let alone do 2 trainings a day. They're like, oh, well, and, New York City does it. Well, New York City also does 2 trainings in 2 different shifts. All right, unless somebody's working on, working a double or working somebody else's tour, they're only doing 1 training, and that training, it's pumped out. I don't got to tell you, everybody's watching us is aware. I don't want to.
Well, and I agree with you. Like, I hate where we are using we're comparing departments or setups between one another because everybody's different. And I hate when they're like, well, they do that. Why don't we do that? Well, it might not work here, right? Yeah. And like the one thing that's come to mind for me lately, just from some personal things that were going on, is you have to value your people and understand that you cannot consistently push them to the breaking point because they will break. You can't ask more. You can't continue to ask more of less and expect the same level of delivery. You're just not going to get it. You can't.
Yeah, that's where I think that's where people really see the difference and things start going south. When you have when you're constantly asking for more, expecting for more, putting more responsibility on people, where you get people pushing back and people start to break and you lose the attention and you lose whatever captivation you had of the rank and file.
Yeah, I mean, okay, you want to add a second training evolution to our 24-hour? Great. Do you honestly think that you're going to get maximum efficiency on that second set of training? Do you think that your people are going to go all in and believe in it and push the limits to their training to make sure that it's the best training? No, you're going to have subpar training and delivery. You're not going to get buy-in. It doesn't make sense, right? That's where the checkboxes get in the way of practicality. Like, we need to be giving our people everything they need to succeed. We can't continually lump shit on them and just keep stuffing the bag full. It's going to break. The bag's going to rip. And that's what people don't understand. And those are the people that are dictating policy that haven't been in those seats or haven't been on the recipient end of what they're shoving into the bag. You know what I'm saying? There's a huge disconnection. Huge.
Yeah, and we got this is nothing against like what we currently have going on, because we hired a bunch of assistant chiefs from outside agencies in the past couple of years and stuff, and they're still here. Like, they bring something completely different to the table, but they, one of the things that I think they forget a lot of times is they spent 25, 30 years in their agency, in their larger metropolitan or city agency, and feel that when something's done here that contradicts what they know, it's personal, or why are they doing that? It's like, it's not, right. Dude, that's not, I had to, sometimes you explain to people and it's like, that's not the way it works down here. That's not the culture. That's not the way we've had it. I was like, trust me, I'll be the first one to say that I'm a victim of the culture down here, because they don't like Yankees. They don't like the Yankees.
Still,
yeah,
huh? Still, you're getting pushed back,
bro.
You'll never be one of us.
Yeah, I'll never be one of them. And I tell them, I'm like, I don't give a shit. You think I want to be one of you? I was like, no, never. All my people are coming down, bro. And before you know it, we'll just take it over like we did before.
We're taking over anyway.
I mean, you know what I mean? We did it
once.
There's
going to be more of us than you.
Yeah.
And right. Yeah, we did it. Yeah, right. Exactly.
What do you think, dude?
Exactly.
Like I said, history repeats itself. I got one of the guys I work with. He's a ball buster, man. He's always like, bro, I'll be on the phone and be like, yo, tell him to shut the fuck up and get off of this goddamn exit on the Parkway.
I love it.
But
that's it, man. New Jersey. That's where you're from. What exit? Right.
Yeah, bro.
That's the ongoing joke, right?
That's it, dude. What?
I get it. The armpit of America. Yeah. You know what? Fuck it. I'll take it. You know what I mean? It's not so bad,
bro. The one thing I do want to.
Well, my man. Yeah. Go ahead.
The one thing I want to say is here to go again.
Is 18-19 is a standard day.
So
we're not gonna be able to get that extra training in. Come on.
I mean, thank God, we're not running those. We're running a little bit less than that, thank goodness. But with the new trucks. But you said something about mentorship when it comes to, and that's one thing I think that you could seek it out. And I'm not gonna, I'll be lying if I told you I didn't seek it out. And it wasn't organic. And I feel like to a certain degree, like maybe that works for certain people where they're seeking out mentorship or guidance. But in my personal thoughts of what a mentor is and what they can do for you, and I think that's the ultimate payback to when you do get promoted, or even if you don't get promoted. I think you have a larger ability and your scope is a lot wider when you're promoted, when you're made, and you're able to give back a little bit and mentor somebody, or a couple people, whatever the case is. But that is one of the biggest things that I feel you could do for the fire service. And you don't have to be an officer. If you're looking to get promoted and you have somebody that can mentor you up that ladder, that's great. Somebody you trust. But even that backstep firefighter, that person that has a couple years on a job, they still have the ability to mentor people. And we've 100%. Seen it firsthand here. Like we had a new guy come in under me at my previous company, and I wound up getting transferred. I was hard on him, don't get me wrong, and but he loves me to this day for it. I would hope so. I left. I went to the company I'm currently in, and he quickly became, within a couple of years, one of the senior persons. Now he's a chauffeur on the shift, but it's up to him now to be that mentor and to lead a little bit and to give back to that firefighter, because you have certain people here, and I say here in the fire service and just life in general, and they have all the true information in their brain housing group, and they want to just keep that and forge it, and not tell anybody about it. And it's like, bro, that's the biggest disservice that you can do to anybody, because you get hit by a bus when you walk out of your house right now, that fucking information's gone. No one's, unless you gave it, unless you wrote a book, and even then it's still not going to be the same as we talked before, because there's always a different perspective and people saying it. But you've given nothing back to the fire service. Like, you need to make sure that you're passing that information on and giving people.
There's no reason to hoard information. The people that keep the information to themselves and are not willing to share and pay it forward are the ones that are in it for themselves and trying to find position over others. And that's all it is, right?
Yeah.
If I know something you don't, it becomes a power trip, if you will. And I have such struggle with that. I will say this, though. There's not a day in your career, and I say career, it could be career fire service, volunteer, anywhere in the fire service. There's not going to be one day where you go, bing, I'm a mentor now. So the mentorship and mentorship E, or the mentor E, starts from day one. And even a guy with 3 months in, and he's 3 months ahead of the next guy, can help the next guy. And a guy with 1 year can help the guy with less than 1 year. And the guy with 5 years can help the guy with less than 5 years. And so mentorship comes in all shapes and sizes. And I'll be perfectly frank. My early days, I didn't understand how important a mentor was. Like, I was an arrogant son of a bitch that knew everything. And it took me a very long time to realize that I didn't know everything. And I can tell you today at 47 years old, I'm a hell of a lot more humble today. And I have mentors today in so many different aspects of my life: personal, fire department, career, business, all those things. I have mentors across the board because I've come to realize the value in that. But you have to be willing to have mentorship, meaning you have to have an open mind and understand that you don't have all the answers, that you have to allow yourself to have an open mind and a broad perspective, that somebody can come in and just offer you some pointers, tips, even subtleties, like all those little things. And I think, though, and Joey, I don't mean to just like rant here, but the one thing that's really important to me about the mentorship aspect, I said it could be anybody from day one through the end of their career, right? It could be everybody is mentoring somebody along the way. That's why it's so important to have a consistent message and to deliver yourself the same way every day, because people are watching and you don't even know the impact you have. If you come into the firehouse with a bad attitude, you work the fire ground and you're not professional and you're not cleaning out windows and throwing ladders correctly, or you're not stretching, people are watching. And you're mentoring either in a bad way or in a good way. And hopefully from the bad way, people will learn from it. But some people will be mentored by bad mentors who then teach bad experience and bad lessons, and then they become just as bad. So we have to be careful of that, right? We have to carry ourselves in the way that you want to be perceived. I mean, it's who you are. There's no faking it, right?
No, but then you also, depending on transfer policies and things, on how people can move laterally between companies and stuff like that, you wind up having, you could potentially have, you could have issues. You get somebody that comes to engine company, everybody can see you. You're exposed very quickly. But if you go to a truck company where you're not able to cut roofs everywhere, where you're not cutting roofs on every single job, you're stretching a line on every single job, you know what I mean? But you're not doing truck functions,
yes.
You're not forcing a door, cutting a roof on every single job, so you may not be exposed. But every place has them. You got guys on a truck that have no business being on a truck, and it's like, dude, do you like it because you don't have to run a lot of EMS calls or many EMS calls? Do you like it because you like the fact to say that you're on a truck? Because, I mean, if that's the case, then do everybody a favor and yourself, including mainly like the citizens, and go back to an engine company where you're proficient on something, because we tried to teach you. We've given you all the skills that you need and all the information, and you still can't do the job. So, like, that's one of the big things you hear all the time, in recruitment efforts and shit like that. People are like, oh, this, everybody can do this job. And it's like, bro, they're fucking lying to you.
No.
They lie to you.
Agreed. And there will come a day where it might not be today or tomorrow. It might not be in 3 years from now, but maybe even 20 years. When you're ready to exit, you'll be tested.
Yeah, everybody's got to gets tested, man. Everybody's.
That's right.
It's going to come.
That's right.
And I know we're not going to probably talk about it right now because it's probably a wormhole, but something to think about, and maybe another time, man. Either over a beer or not even on a podcast necessarily, but like,
love that.
Where do we get? At what point do we draw the line, or do we put our foot down? And everybody's all about like catering to other people that are coming in and being accepting of the way they grew up or how they operate and what they bring to the table. But it's everybody completely neglects the fact that the fire service has certain standards and certain traditions. And at what point are we going to put ourselves first and be like, hey, you know something? We got 500 guys here that have done a lot of work to keep the traditions up of the fire service, of this city, of this agency, and you want to come in here not even proving yourself to anybody. You're still nobody. You are. You're nothing. You got the certifications. You're out in the line, and now you just moved up from playing varsity football to Division I football, and now you have to prove yourself all over again. And at what point do we stop that and we say, hold on a second, let's maybe put ourselves forward. Let's start instilling these traditions on them, because at the end of the day, the fire service has been a fire service for hundreds of years. And it's carried some of the same traditions for hundreds of years. If you don't have anything left of that, you're doing a disservice to this beautiful job that we've been so lucky to and so fortunate to be able to perform.
I talk a lot in my program about saying yes and the importance of saying yes, right? Too often we have leaders that just say no. They shut you down. Can we do this? No. You want to do this? No. Like, it's a control issue. The other aspect of it, though, and where I'm going with this is what you're talking about, in my eyes, is so many people are looking to better themselves today, right? Podcasts, books, self-help, therapy, all these things. And the one thing they say is you have to take control of yourself. And so it's okay to say no to people. Well, the fire service needs to be allowed to say no to things that don't comply with the norm of who and what we are. And the problem is like, no, that doesn't work here. And the problem is like they tell you in your personal life, it's okay to tell somebody no. You need your personal space. You need your time. You need this. You need that. Say no. But then in the fire service can't say no because we have to be sunshine and rainbows and allow for inclusion and allow this and allow that and all this bullshit. And we should be able to say no to protect the integrity and sanctity of the fire service. We should be allowed to say no. We don't have to tolerate that. We eat meal here. We cook together, we eat together. I know you have dietary restrictions. We'll account for that. You want brown rice and chicken? We'll make it part of the meal. You know, you can have that. But at the end of the day, there has to be certain things that we need to draw a line in the sand. I agree with you 100%. I think that's what life is all about. We need to be able to say no. We need to be able to draw a line and protect the sanctity of what we have in place. All of this has been built over the years, and I'm not saying that we're not going to innovate and shift and change and, you know, become a little bit different of a fire service than we were 10, 20, 50 years ago. Of course. But there's these core values that we have to be protective of, and we need to be able to say no. We need to not tolerate certain shit. Job is, like you said, career volunteer, paid on call, wild lamb, whatever you are. This job's not for everybody.
No.
So I'm sorry, but it's just not.
You get like, I used this analogy before because, you know, being from up north, like, you know, it's no secret, bro. We curse. We use it differently than down here. All right. It's no different down here, bro, because you guys just do it differently. When I say you guys, I mean like the South. Right. Like it took me a couple of years to, you know, I'll never.
See, you're never going to be one of them, brother.
Never. All you listening from the South, I will never be one of you. Right. Never.
I got a vowel at the end of my name, damn
never, my friend, ever. All right? Bless your heart for thinking of that. That's a little fucking singer. Hilarious. So bless your heart's one of those things, Jeremy, that they say down here. That doesn't bless your heart. That like means, you know, you're a fucking idiot.
That's a go fuck yourself is what that is. Yeah, exactly. 100%. So at the end of the, it's just done with Southern charm, bro. We don't have that.
The meaning is still the same. Your purpose of using, whether I tell you you're a fucking idiot or bless your heart. The meaning's still the same, dude. So it makes it better that this person's telling me to go bless my heart?
You know what it is? It's delivery.
Yeah, and it's
delivery.
Bullshit, dude. I don't have the time nor the patience to try to decipher anybody's delivery or read between the lines. You tell me how the fuck you want something done. You tell me what you want done and how you feel, and I'll act accordingly. That's completely fine. There's nothing wrong with that.
Do you know that it took you an hour to get your New Jersey out of you? Like now it's coming out of you.
Oh yeah, dude, you got me to a point where
spilling out of you now. Yeah, it took an hour to get there. It took an hour for you to start, you know, bringing back your New Jersey. But I agree with you 100%. Delivery matters. We talked about it in the academy, consistency in the message. There's different ways to deliver the same message, for sure. And there are certain ways that are received better than others. I think, though, being transparent and authentic to who you are allows for the delivery that you choose to have. And frankly, if you were saying bless your heart, they would look at you, this stocky, big-armed guy, tatted up, saying bless your heart. Like, what are you? Who are you? You know what I'm saying? Like, you don't belong here. So, I mean, delivery is everything, and it comes from who you are and what you are, and what you're a product of. So, man, don't be apologizing for that ever.
No, but that's one of the things, bro, that you know, I come across a lot, and I tell them, I'm like, hey, we're here, we're in a firehouse, right? And we're gonna act differently and do different things than somebody that's works out of administration or somebody that works for the city that has an office job. You can't compare us to them. All right, it's the same thing. Like, yeah, we work for the city. You're right, but the people that are working in the white-collar job in the NFL, in the corporate offices, what's acceptable in the corporate offices. Right. Like if I walked up to Jimmy and be like, hey, Jimmy, you know, you got the schedule for next year with everything, and it's like, hey, dude, do you ever check your emails? I fucking sent that shit to you like two weeks ago. Well, you can't talk to me like that. Well, dude, check your emails. You're being an idiot. Like, just check your emails. I sent it to you. Well, there's certain things, you know, that probably wouldn't be acceptable at corporate office. And, you know, if I called somebody the F-bomb
No, typically not.
I come in after a fire in the NFL locker room and somebody fucked up a stretch or did something that was not good on the fire scene that wasn't acceptable. And I'm like, yo, what the F is wrong with you? You know, don't F up again. stop fucking up, do the right thing. And that, if you tell somebody they can't do that, can't speak like that in the locker room in NFL, you're going to get laughed at. You're going to get laughed out of the locker room. You're probably going to get taken off your feet and escorted out. So it's kind of like, to me, and maybe this isn't the right perspective to have, but you have like, the white collar office executives, that there's certain things that are acceptable inside the office, and there's certain things that are acceptable on a ground level with the troops, and they're not going to align. And that's where you have that's where some of the issues come in, I think.
For sure. And then it's, how do you find balance between the two?
Exactly.
And, and that really, that's a great way to kind of start to end this episode. It segues back to the very beginning of what we were talking about with the, mechanical aptitude, real world experience, and education. And it's finding that balance between them, which sets us apart as an industry, or as the fire service. I love that. Yep. I love that. I think I'm titling this episode "Bless Your Heart." I kind of like that. It's fucking awesome, bro.
Oh, Lord.
Joey, thank you for joining me today, man. That was a great conversation. I'm glad we made it through. Like we said at the beginning of this, our first one got struck down by God himself.
Literally, yeah.
And, literally a bolt of lightning came down and said, this needs to be done again. And frankly, this was a really great experience and good conversation. I mean, I didn't understand your passion for medical skills. It's great, man. Proud of you.
Just, hey, if you're, whatever it is that you're going to do, bud, I know that was a good zinger.
I love it. All in.
You gotta be,
no, but that speaks, bro. That's your personality. All in,
that's
right?
It.
And that. Expect nothing less. And that's how you go about it, man. But Joey Petruccelli, thank you, brother. Thanks for joining me today, man. It was a great conversation. My the New Jersey connection was fun here at the end for sure. Brother. So I get it, man. Yeah,
Jeremy, thanks.
The hands were going and the language was flying. So it's the way. It's just how it is. So, Joey, thank you, brother. Stay right here. And if anybody wants to get a hold of you, Ghetto Truck on Instagram, send you a DM or whatever, right? Good place to find you.
Yeah, definitely. It'll get to me eventually, for sure.
Yeah, there you go. Cool. Joey, thanks for joining me. Stay right here. I'm just going to sign off, and I'll be right back to you, okay? Awesome. Everybody, thanks for tuning in for another episode of the National Fire Radio Podcast. What a great conversation. I love it, man. I get to do this every day of my life. It's a lot of fun. I get to talk to great people and share a good message, and today was not shy of that at all. It was a lot of fun. Got a lot of timestamps I got to clip up. There were some real good ones here. So, Joey, thank you for joining me. And, guys, do me a favor, like I always say. Take this conversation, take it back to the firehouse and talk about it, because when we're talking about the job, we're making the job better. We'll see you at the next one. Jeremy, National Fire Radio.
National Fire Radio.